Well, for you, happy spring. Oh, it's nice. That's a great visit. Yeah, nice surprise. Yeah, there we go.
You know these announcements can either go 2 minutes, 20 minutes. So as long as you're ready, okay. Good morning, everyone. It is so wonderful to see folks rolling in here. Welcome to Judson Memorial Church. My name is Micah. My pronouns are he and they, and I am one of the ministers here at Judson, along with Reverend Dr. Valerie Hope Holly, who is sitting over here and is our Associate Minister and Chief of Staff, and along with Reverend Julie Johnson-Staples, JD, who is our Zoom pastor today. So everybody turn around really quickly, right to that camera, wave hello to Reverend Julie and our beautiful people in the diaspora. Congratulations to those of you who didn't have to roll out of bed an hour early and are now watching us from your home. I can't wait to see who shows up through that back door right on the dot at 11 a.m. their time. It's wonderful that all of you have rolled out of bed. I know that my body is still kind of kick-starting, so if you doze off at some point during the service, just make sure that it's during the sermon. You don't want to miss any of the other talent that happens and pops during this service today. But we begin our service always with announcements. So if you have something to share, please form a line on either side. Keep your mask on until you arrive at the podium. Then take your mask off so that we can hear your lovely voice, see your beautiful face, and know what you are trying to say. And Grace will model it for us right now.
Good morning. I'm Grace Goodman. I'm also a member of the West Village Chorale, which is having its spring Messiah Sing this afternoon. If any of you like to sing or you like to at least hear the choruses from the Easter part of the Messiah, which was written for Easter, but we usually sing it at Christmas because of the first part, but there's a whole second part all about Easter. So come this afternoon, 3 o'clock in this room, and join our sing. And because of that, I'm going to ask you all not to pick up the chairs today. Please leave the chairs. Thanks.
Good morning. I'm going to adjust that, and that's going to be a problem for everyone else. So sorry. I'm Elliot. I use they, them pronouns. I'm a community minister here at Judson. Today, traditionally at 1 o'clock, we would have Community Minister Brooks Applegate's Mystery School. Brooks is not feeling well today, and so we won't be having Mystery School at 1 today. Thank you.
Okay, well, I don't have to adjust too much. I'm Maxine Phillips, she, her. You know, I've been noticing that at every funeral I've gone to recently, they always acknowledge the caregivers. And if we're lucky, people will be acknowledging the caregivers at our funerals, which will mean that we lived a long time and that we had good care at the end. At the last Growing Older Together meeting, which is people of a certain age, but we are all growing older together, there was a discussion about caregivers and the atrocious pay that they get. Last year, finally, after years of struggle, they got like a $2 or $3 raise, over a 2-year period. And this year, the chances are, the budget that's been presented would roll that back. So, in the true Judson tradition, I will have letter writing materials back there. Bethine, I think you're online. You'll post a link in the chat where people can send an email. They're having email postcards, but I brought some real ones you could write and a sample letter. So just let the governor know that the healthcare workers are really important.
Thank you, Maxine, and I am excited to see Bethine right there in the back of the room. So someone else on Zoom post that in the chat, and Bethine, you're off the hook here. A couple more things before we go deeper into this service. On Wednesday, Judson Arts and Judson Commons will be presenting an amazing program in concert with a group called April, who puts out the religion and culture journal Cross Currents. It is a genderqueer Jewish scholar who has a new journal out on queering God. So that will be at 7 p.m. this Wednesday in this very room. I pointed out to you because you want to be there, I assure you, and because in the bulletin, in classic me fashion, it says that you should come at 7:15. Don't come at 7:15. Come at 7 p.m. I'm correcting myself right here and being very vulnerable in front of you. So, come at 7. There will be cheese as well, and there will be a nourishing discussion with Zizel, who is the Jewish scholar who will be guiding us through. Now, I am so excited. What awaits you in this service will be an exploration of the sacred feminine. We have some of our Judson All-Stars prepared to bring that to you in song, and I'm also super excited to bring back community minister Emily Farthing, who is working on a photography project called the Goddess Project. She will be guiding you through a PowerPoint of those photographs and explaining to you exactly what the Goddess Project is meant to be doing as it welcomes folks to lean into the sacred feminine within them. So, with that, I will invite Reverend Dr. Valerie Holly up to give our land acknowledgement, and then we'll bring up our first all-star with the prelude, Denise. So glad to have you here.
Thank you, Micah. And thank you, Elliot, for making sure I adjust the mic. Okay, we're getting ready to do the land acknowledgement. If you would like to join me, you're certainly welcome to do that. We gather today on the ancestral land of the Menansi Lenape tribe of the Lenni Lenape people. We acknowledge these peoples of the Stony Country and decry the unjust taking of their Lenape hoking. We acknowledge the unfulfilled promises of U.S. treaties granting land access and the still unresolved traumas of forced migration. We acknowledge and affirm Native values and indigenous cultures while holding space for the myriad authentic and post-colonial Indian expressions of faith and life. To remember well and move beyond ceremony to hope, love, joy, and peace, fulfilled reciprocity, we prayerfully commit to better understand our place on this land. We extend honor to those people who still live on and steward the land, and we will strive to make meaningful connections between the original people and their ancestral land in order to counteract all harm to original peoples that perpetuates a narrative of erasure. Denise, Koncelik, our flautist.
Good morning. I was thrilled to be invited by Micah to represent women in this Women's History Month. This piece was written by Cécile Chaminade. She was the first female composer to win the first prize at the Conservatory of Paris. She also shares the same birthday as I have. Henco will be the orchestra this morning.
Thank you so much, Denise and Henco. And now if you would rise in body and or spirit, let's join in singing a familiar tune with new lyrics written by Carolyn Winfrey Gillette.
My, what a beautiful song. Henco, please remember it. I want that again. Beautiful. It was just beautiful. Had me almost crying up here, y'all. And I mean that. Wow. The ancient testimony, from the prologue to the passion of Saints Perpetua and Felicity. There were apprehended the young catechumens, Vivacitus and Felicity, his fellow student, Saturnius and Secundulus. With them also was Vivia Perpetua, nobly born, reared in a liberal manner, wedded honorably, having a father and mother and 2 brothers, one of them a catechumen likewise, and a son, a child of the breast. And she herself was about 22 years of age. What follows here shall she tell herself. The whole order of her martyrdom, as she left it written with her own hand and in her own words.
Good morning, Judson. It's an honor to be up here and be sharing. Thank you. this shows. Oh, there we go. So in my first semester at Union Seminary, I took a class from Dr. Cruz, and it was African Traditions in the Americas. And the final for that class was to do a research paper, an ethnographic study, meaning we had to go to a temple or different practitioners, learn from them about an African tradition. Since I had just moved here from Brazil, I decided to look at the differences and similarities between Umbanda and Candomblé. And so I found myself visiting priests and priestesses, and one Sunday, I went up to Rochester to an Umbanda temple. No signage, very difficult to find. You would not know that it was an Umbanda temple. You had to walk up these second-story stairs, and then you begin to hear the drumming. And you enter in, and everyone is wearing white, and you get to witness music, singing, dancing, and at the end, the priests and priestesses embody one of the orishas, and everyone is asked to go into the rhoda, the circle, and approach the orisha that they are being called to for advice. Now, since I am not an Umbanda practitioner, I didn't go in until the woman who welcomed me came up behind me and said, no, go. And I was like, no, I'm just like doing research, She's like, no, go. Everyone goes. I'm like, oh, okay. And I am the only person not in white. I was in bright purple. And I walk in, and I'm waiting for my turn, and I feel called to go to the woman directly in front of me, and I go up to her, and she is embodying Oshun, the Orisha Oshun. And she begins to tell me in Portuguese exactly what I needed to hear, that I was at this crossroads in my life that I either needed to jump in and start swimming or keep observing and not follow my truth. Every part of me opened. I began to bawl. She did a smoke healing around me, and I could not stop shaking and crying and shaking and crying and shaking and crying. And she gave me direct instructions on to create a divine feminine altar with a candle and basil leaves at my house. So I went home and I created that altar and have that altar at my house ever since. And it was in that moment that this project came to mind. It was through Oshun that I knew that for my final thesis at Union, I wanted to create a photographic project with other women looking at different female divinities, telling their story in history, but also telling the story of the women who embody them. So let's begin. Ooh, that's pretty dark. Holding 2 pomegranates there is a Union grad, and I'll just give this to you. You can call it out if you want. This Greek goddess from Greek mythology is known to have ingested pomegranate seeds and now live in the underworld, but still holds the title of the goddess of growth. Anyone? Yes! It is Persephone, embodied by Union grad Jennifer Helminski. And we actually shot this. This is a little video. I'm not sure if it's going to play. Let's see. Last week after church at a studio. Jennifer was called to this divinity, and as a third-year MDiv candidate going into chaplaincy, she was really interested at Persephone's juxtaposition as a goddess of fertility and life, yet living in the underworld as the wife of Hades. And how as women we hold those things, death and life, life and death. More Persephone. Might need to lower the lights, perhaps. Thank you. And next, and fittingly, is Oshun, the goddess of the rivers, the life giver, the one of the most powerful Yoruba orishas. She's often portrayed wearing yellow along with her devotees. Now, since I got the inspiration for this project from Oshun, it was interesting that when I traveled to Rio during spring break this time last year, Isabel Lorraine was the first person I asked to do this project. And Isabel, I never tell women what deity I'd like them to embody. It's a collaborative cooperation. And so I asked them who they feel most drawn to. And she said Oshun. So it's interesting that Micah also picked this picture as the front of the bulletin because Oshun is the one that really wanted this project to be told, and here she's really calling to tell this project to all of you. Next up, we have Brigit, the Celtic goddess of healing, poets, and smithcraft. She's also believed to usher in the light of spring. And portraying Bridget is Jacqueline Taylor. Jacqueline is an elementary school teacher, but she was just accepted as a PhD candidate in human sexuality to focus on LGBTQIA+ community and specifically non-binary and transitioning youth and how to support them in the educational system. From there, let's fly down to Miami. On the beach of Miami at sunrise, this is Emilia Garth as Saraswati. Now, Saraswati is the Hindu goddess of art, speech, wisdom, and knowledge. She's also seen normally with 4 arms carrying a book, a rosary, a water pot, and a musical instrument called a veena. Now, Emilia Garth in real life is a musical healer. She travels internationally. She's a recording artist. And she's the founder of Kanapakalia Festival in Miami, which is a spiritual and musical festival focused on bridging generational and cultural differences through creativity. Another Union grad, this is Marissa Holstein as the beloved Teresa de Avila. Now, Marissa was especially drawn to Teresa for her embodiment of the Catholic tradition. Marissa is currently writing a thesis at Union entitled Embodiment Ethics in the Face of Purity Culture, an examination through the lens of womanist and feminist theologies, invested in dismantling purity culture and all of its manifestations and rebuilding a better embodied faith. And back to the beaches of Rio de Janeiro with Iemanjá, Whispers from the Ocean. Iemanjá is the goddess of the sea and protector of sailors and children. In Bahia, on February 2nd, there are giant processions to the water. People wear white, they bathe themselves in the ocean, and they set out boats in honor of Iemanjá. Now, Ari, who is Iemanjá here, is a dear friend and a food influencer, and she's actually famous now on Instagram for sharing the culinary arts of Bahia, where she's from. And finally, a saint that doesn't hold to any religious boundary, death. This is Gabby Diaz. Gabby is a birth and life doula, and last month I traveled back to Miami to do a shoot with her that embodied both life and death, and their joy, their sorrow, their connection. We shot with her friend Tiffany, who is also a sound healer, and we tried to convey the beauty of death, the nearness, the mystery, the goddess. And so I want to thank you all for coming on that little journey. And I also wanted to invite you to your divine feminine, that after this service, if you feel the need, up here on the altar, there are an array of tiaras that I use for this project and crowns. So if you'd like to come up and try on a tiara or a crown, take a selfie, just feel that goddess within you, feel free. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Emily. I want to see folks up here with those tiaras, because I'm going to be up here at them. So next, to continue this journey, please welcome Sarah Nelson Kraft.
I have been wandering, where I have been pondering, where I've been lately's no concern of yours. Who's been touching my skin? Who have I been letting? Shy and tired-eyed am I today. I'm wounded by dust. Oh, have I been wondering, where I have been pondering, where I've been lately's no concern of yours. Who's been touching my skin? Who have I been letting? Shy and tired-eyed am I today. Sometimes I sit, sometimes I stare. Sometimes he'll look and sometimes I don't care. Rarely I weep, sometimes I must. I'm wounded by dust. Toll, when the bell gon' chime, you better call for your woman up high. When the bell tolls for your last day, you'll be getting down on your knees to pray. I'm a good woman and I never did say whatever it was that you did that day. Now I'm not a woman to go place blame, but you said that it was coming on Judgment Day. Now Sophia, I'm wounded by dust. Now when the bell toll, when the bell gonna chime, you better call for your woman up high. When the bell tolls for your last day, you'll be getting down on your knees to pray. I'm a good woman and I never did say whatever it was that you did that day. Now I'm not a woman to go place blame, but you said that it was coming on Judgment Day.
Sarah Kraft conjuring that Sophia wisdom. Thank you so much. Would you all pray with me? May I say what I need to say, and may you hear what you need to hear. Amen. I am so grateful that Emily has called us so gorgeously into an exploration of the sacred feminine with her beautiful photographs, and I want to continue the journey now by giving you 2 snapshots from my past. So, snapshot number 1. Travel back with me in time to the mid-'80s, Northeast Ohio, morning. I'm 4 years old. I am sitting on the counter in my mother's bathroom watching her apply makeup to her face. As my legs dangle over the edge and I stay still and fixated, my mother moves from foundation to blush to lipstick to mascara. And mascara is my favorite part because I love thick, long eyelashes. This practice of witnessing my mother's transformation from whoever she is when she rests in private to whoever she needs to be when she leaves her home happens every morning. And I have been watching her transform in the mirror every morning for as long as I can remember. But this morning, after she applies the black mascara goop to her eyelashes, my mother turns to me and says, "I love my little boy." And without missing a single beat, as if the words have been desperately waiting to erupt from my lips, I ask her, "Do you love your little girl too?" Now, I'm my mother's only child, a son, a boy who is already bullied daily at preschool for being soft and kind and creative and much more interested in dolls and dresses than I am in trucks and tag. I know that this is a risk. I don't even know that I know what I actually mean by asking the question, "Do you love your little girl too?" But I know that I am asking about myself, a self that is desperately seeking loving validation. And my mother, without missing a beat, as if the words have been stirring inside her for ages, ready to be breathed directly from her heart into my heart, simply answers, "I love my little boy, and I love my little girl." And it's as simple as that. My mother receives my queer query as if it is an utterly acceptable, and even more importantly, normal question. She greets her child's active and imaginative and creative balancing of the masculine and the feminine within themselves with love, curiosity, and respect and support. And I trust that I don't need to tell you that this moment changed my life. It steered my life. It directed my life. I would even say it saved my life. And I know that I am extremely lucky. The bullying at school continued for years, but I knew I had my mother's love behind whoever I was and whoever I would become. The moment was queered because I was queered, because my mother was queered, and therefore our lives were forever queered. Now, snapshot number 2. Fast forward with me to 2012, New York City, Burke Library inside Union Theological Seminary. Trigger warning for anyone who went to Union. I'm sorry for all the hours you spent in that place, probably. I'm sitting at a table surrounded by books. I am researching my final paper for Church History 101, which covers the decades immediately following the founding of the Christian Church up to the Middle Ages. I have decided to focus this final paper on the development of sodomy laws over the course of Christianity's first few centuries, basically its ornery adolescence. And it's a frustrating exercise. I do not know why I chose this as my topic. In my opinion, there's not nearly enough written and available that holds the church's history accountable to its violence and affirms how integral queer people have actually always been to the church's thriving. But then, my eyes land on a few short paragraphs in a random book, and I read about one of the first sexual laws laid down in the church way, way back in the day. And though I shouldn't be surprised that such a law exists, my mind is blown by the connections it reveals for me. You see, this law has been set down in order to govern how to deal with two men who are found fornicating with one another, but there's a terrifying twist that blows my mind. Because this law goes so far as to differentiate between the two guilty parties. Party one, the penetrator, the strong one, the man, the one who used his phallus. This party is not punished. He's set free. It's okay to go back into society and penetrate himself right back into normal day life. But party two, the receptive party, the person who has deigned to become like a woman. In this act, the one who has opened himself and allowed himself to become something lesser than a man, lesser than a penetrator, well, this unfortunate soul is to be put to death. Never again able to embarrass himself by denying his sacred masculinity. The penetrator goes back to his life. The weak one gets executed. And this kind of brutish bullying, clinging to the idea of manly strength would be laughable if it weren't so deadly and so terrifying. And in this moment of reading about this law, even though the connection should have always been clear, something clicks for me like never before. This law, though of course horrific on all levels, also reveals a very important fact. Homophobia and transphobia are deeply rooted in fear, hatred, and violence against women, and more broadly against the sacred feminine that is inherent in all of us, embraced by some of us, but violently denied and oppressed by many of us. And seeing this history and connection so starkly outlined in front of me changes my life. The moment was queered, and I was further queered, now even better understanding the lineage from which my own gender fluidity and exploration springs. And I am focusing on these snapshots today for two reasons. First, because both of these moments have contributed fiercely to me becoming the queer person of hope that I am today. And second, with the anti-woman, anti-queer, anti-trans, anti-drag queen, for God's sake, rhetoric and violence and legislation that is currently exploding in our country, it is imperative that we, especially we, as a Christian or Christian-adjacent place of worship, see, name, and loudly decry the anti-femme fear and hate that connects all of it. The ACLU is currently tracking nearly 400 anti-LGBTQIA plus bills across the United States. We have drag shows being shut down by bomb threats, queer kids dying by suicide on the regular, and politicians using their platform to literally suggest the eradication of trans reality from public life. And we all know that that actually means eradicating actual living, breathing people from life. Reproductive rights have been stripped away completely in 12 states. And the hostile threat against anyone with a womb is sweeping through several other states, and these things are all connected. The violent penetration of patriarchy has always feared the power of the sacred feminine, because the sacred feminine is the life-giving, generative font that flows through all of us if we will let it. It meets the violent, individualistic, war-obsessed terror of patriarchy with life and joy and expansive, creative possibility. And the sacred feminine isn't about like a matriarchal power grab. It's about equity and expansion beyond our deadly, dualistic, binary brutishness. That's what makes the sacred feminine so dangerous to the entire patriarchal Christian nationalistic platform. But it's always been this way. And patriarchal Christian nationalism is not Christianity. Can we say that together? Patriarchal Christian nationalism is not Christianity. This past week, many observed the feast day of Saints Perpetua and Felicity. And raise your hand if you have ever heard of Perpetua and Felicity. Okay, look around this room. Whose narrative is being served by us having no idea who Perpetua and Felicity are? If you don't know who they are, I urge you to read about these matriarchal martyrs. And the brief prologue that Reverend Valerie read earlier is just the tip of their inspiring iceberg. What's most important to know is that Perpetua and Felicity were both women in the 3rd century, one a noble woman, one enslaved, both recent Christian converts. And they were executed by the Roman Empire. But get this, Perpetua was literally nursing a child at the time of her execution. And Felicity was pregnant. Both of these women, ripe with the sacred feminine, trying to spread a gospel message of love, were penetrated and killed by the Roman Empire because it was so terrifying to patriarchal power. So again, if you don't know this story, ask yourself why. Whose narrative does this story complicate? A patriarchal tradition where all women are either virgins or whores? What the actual fudge? This is the kind of backwards, brutish, bullying stuff that patriarchy has been penetrating our hope with for millennia. But I have been dealing with bullies my whole life. Have you been dealing with bullies your whole life? And you know what bullies don't actually have that we have? Joy and love and creativity and imagination and life. Bullies don't have it. That's why they're bullies. Bullies may wound us, but they cannot kick us off the ride. This ride, this world does not belong to bullies. They are nothing but distracting dust. We have all the tools we need to keep opening ourselves and this world up to the generative, sacred, feminine, bubbling inside all of us. We have joy, we have love, we have creativity, we have imagination, and we have life. And in a world where patriarchal Christian nationalism thinks that it rules, devoting your attention to actually embodying joy and love and creativity and imagination and actually embodying life, those bullies see that as a sign of weakness. But the sacred feminine, those photographs that Emily showed us, the strength coming out of Sarah's voice, what you're about to hear later on in this service, that is not weakness. That is joy and love and creativity and imagination and life. And here's your hopeful snapshot for today. We don't live in a world where bullies rule. We have too much work to do. We have too much work to do to get bogged down by the last gasps of bullying patriarchal Christian nationalism. Don't let their last gasps steal your breath. If you are feeling hopeless, if you are in need of new connections to creative work that will keep shaping the future that is not only possible, but the future that is actually actively here, then queer that hopelessness. Queer your hopelessness and reach out to me and to those around you. This place is a sanctuary for co-creation in the face of patriarchal Christian nationalism, or it is nothing. We've got ample upcoming opportunities to co-create in the name of reproductive justice and LGBTQIA+ justice. So talk to one another. Joy, love, creativity, imagination, and life are dynamic, collaborative practices. That's what the sacred feminine has taught me. You are transitioning. You are always becoming who you are. So don't let those bullies steal your breath. It's inside all of us, the sacred feminine. Even among the noise of the bullies, can you hear the sound? Remember the sound. No matter what kind of patriarchal God the bullies are trying to ram down your throat, the spirit of joy and love and creativity and imagination and life cannot be outsung. Do not get distracted. Remember the sound. And to remind us, Rikki and Oscar, will you please come up and give us some sounds that will lead us back to the sacred feminine?
I always forget which pocket I put my picks in. They're always there. you a fight song. Fire up you a fight song. Fire up you a fight song. Please don't sing it with me. Do you remember the sound of? Do you remember the sound of? Do you remember the sound of? Fire up you that fight song. Fire up you that fight song. Fire up you that fight song. Would it sound like love? Sound like love. Sound like.
So much, Rikki and Oscar. And now is, of course, the moment where we welcome those who are able to give monetarily to this place, this congregation, to our programs. We invite you to do so. There will be baskets coming around the space. Please give as you are able. No amount is too small, no amount is too large. If you would rather give electronically, it is in your bulletin and will be shared in the chat online. But most importantly right now, you heard me talk about my mom already. I'm looking out at a bunch of people who remind me of the sound of love. And the person you're about to hear, even in the wake of the ridiculous anti-drag-ness that is happening in this country, this person reminds me every day to get back on the ride, that nobody can kick you off. They're just dust, they're just distraction. So Ruby Rims, remind us to get back on the merry-go-round.
Have another drink. I look at the world that I've conquered. I've won every spin of the wheel. I get everything I go after. You ask me, how does it feel? I tell you, I trade the moon for a string with an orange balloon. And the day when my only dream was a dish of vanilla ice cream. Give me one more chance at the midway. Let me laugh and be gay as a clown. Give me back the world I remember. One more ride on the merry-go-round. I do all my shopping in Paris. My clothes are only Dior. There's money to buy friends and lovers. I wonder if that's what it's for. 'Cause when I go to my bedroom, and look at my hand-painted sky, I think of a world far behind me, a world no money can buy. Give me one more chance at the midway. Let me laugh and be gay as a clown. Give me back the world I remember. One more ride on the merry-go-round. La 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 la. La 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 la. One more ride on the merry-go-round. Now as I look at the future, I feel so close to the past. I'm so afraid of tomorrow, wondering which one is the last. Here in the cool of the winter, I cling to a fragment of May. I trade you the world and its treasures for a moment of old yesterday. Give me one more chance at the midway. Let me dance with my feet off the ground. Give me back the world I remember. One more ride on the merry-go-round. La 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 la. One more ride on the merry, ride on the merry, ride on the merry-go-round.
Ruby, can we have a round of applause for all the folks that led us through the sacred feminine today? Thank you all so much. And now would you please rise in body and or spirit? We just about heard the roof blown off this place, and now you have a Leslie Gore classic that gives you an opportunity to join in on the fun and the ride. But remember, this service might be ending, but our service to ourselves and to the world continues. Even as we leave this place, lean into the sacred feminine that is bubbling within you. And if you need a reminder, go put a tiara on in the back here during coffee hour. Amen.
Just to give you a roadmap, quickly look at the sheet music. Most of you will know this, but it looks a little funny on the page. So we're going to sing the first verse, then you see there's a little repeat. So you do the second verse, and then you go into the chorus. And then before it says coda, you go back, and then we do verse 3 and 4, and then again the second part of the chorus. And then you jump to the coda. So good luck.
Thank you. Okay. We will now bid adieu to Reverend Julie and the JMC Diaspora as we prepare for celebrations and concerns. And if you can't see, folks are waving at you all. And as you prepare for your celebrations and concerns, as we will prepare for ours. Thank you all and be safe. I know Reverend Julie will say all those things. And